This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic. All right, we're continuing graphing trig functions. In this video, we're still working on determining the period for sine functions and choosing the key x coordinates, which will give us our 5 key points. And we're going to graph this function on this video, y equals 2 sine of x over 4. So here's the problem. State the period and graph y equals 2 sine of x over 4. All right, so there's 2 ways to find the period. One is you take the term in here that has the x, which is x over 4. That's all there is. And you know the period goes in between 0 and 2 pi for x, but in this case, we've got x over 4. So then we have to multiply all sides, all 3 parts by 4, right, to solve for x. Right, so that gives us 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 8 pi. So the period goes from 0 to 8 pi. So the period of this function is 8 pi. Now the other way to do it is if we look at x over 4 and we think of that as b times x, we have 1/4 x. Okay, so x over 4 is the same thing as 1/4 x. And then we could get the period. Remember, it's 2 pi over b. Sorry, that means that b equals 1/4, right? That's the coefficient. So the period is 2 pi over b. So in this case, 2 pi divided by 1/4 is the same thing as 2 pi divided by 1/4, which is 2 pi times 4, which is 8 pi. All right, so either way you do it, you should end up with 8 pi for the period, right? It's not necessarily always going to be this last number, but since you're going from 0 to 8 pi, that's going to give you a full distance of 8 pi. All right, so now we've got the period. All right, the next thing to consider is the amplitude, because I have a 2 in front of the sine, so that means the amplitude is 2. So we're getting ready to graph this. Okay, so remember, if it's going between 0 and 8 pi, then the first mark is 1/4 of the way to 8 pi. So our markings will be, each of our intervals here will be 1/4 of whatever 8 pi is, which is 2 pi. So on your x-axis, your first marking is going to be at 2 pi. So let's see. Let's do it here. So our first marking is going to be 2 pi. And then the next marking will be 4 pi, 2 pi more than that, 6 pi, and 8 pi. I figured we didn't need to go through and write 2 pi plus 2 pi is 4 pi. I think you can do that. You don't have to worry about getting common denominators. I'm going to go ahead and do the markings over here as well. There's negative 2 pi, negative 4 pi, negative 6 pi, negative 8 pi. I'm not going to write them all down. All right, what about the amplitude? Well, the 2 tells you we're going to go up. Okay. Now I could make a chart for all these ordered pairs, but you know the period goes from 0 to 8 pi, and we're doing the sine function, right? So we know it starts at 0, 0, in the middle it's at 0, right, the y value, and at the end it's at 0. And what happens in between these places? First it goes up, but it goes all the way up to 2. Right? Because we have to multiply the usual y value for the sine function is 1. You're going to multiply it by 2 because of this coefficient. And this one down here will be negative 2. And there you're going to get one period without actually having to make a chart. Now you could make a chart. Let's do a few more over here because it just repeats itself. So this will be graphing 2 periods. All right, if you had made a chart, let's see, let's make this just slightly smaller to give myself some room. What would the key values be? Well, it always starts at 0, then 2 pi, then 2 pi plus 2 pi was your 4 pi. Add 2 pi again, and our last x-coordinate would be 8 pi. But the y values, remember the sine function goes 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. Remember we're going to multiply it by 2, right? And actually, it's because that's 2, right? Because the amplitude is always positive. If it was negative, we would multiply it by -2. So we're going to multiply all the y values by 2. 0 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2, 0 times 2 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 0 is going to be 0 again. 2 times -1 was -2 and 0. So if you would have drawn a little chart here, that's what it would look like. And then you still are going to get these same 4 ordered pairs. And so that's how we graph y equals 2 sine of x over 4. We get a period. It goes all the way to 8 pi, right? One cycle is a full 8 pi units on the x-axis. This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic.